Manchester City are not just winning matches anymore. They are erasing identities, humiliating legacies, and quietly dismantling the biggest clubs in world football one by one. And the terrifying part is that most people do not even realize what is happening because it does not always come with chaos or controversy or dramatic scorelines. It comes with control, silence, inevitability, and a slow, suffocating institutions look lost from the moment the first whistle blows. This is not domination built on moments of magic or individual brilliance alone. This is systematic destruction engineered over years, perfected under Pep Guardiola, and executed with ruthless precision. And to understand how Manchester City are destroying big clubs one by one, you have to look beyond the goals, the trophies, and the league tables, and instead focus on what happens to teams after they face City, because something always breaks when they do, whether it is confidence, structure, belief, or identity. And you can trace it across Europe, in the Premier League, the Champions League, domestic cups, and title races, where once powerful clubs walk into a match against City believing they are equals, and walk out knowing they are not. And it begins before kickoff, because Pep Guardiola does not just prepare his team, he prepares the battlefield. Cities study opponents until every weakness is exposed, every pressing trigger memorized, every defensive habit exploited. And when the game starts, it feels like the opposition are reacting instead of acting, chasing shadows instead of dictating play. And this psychological edge is where the destruction begins, because elite teams are not used to being dominated mentally, and when they are, their systems collapse. First, you see it with clubs like Manchester United, who once relied on history, atmosphere, and star players to intimidate opponents. But against City, those advantages evaporate. City arrive calm, organized, and fearless, passing through pressure as if it does not exist, controlling tempo, turning derbies into training sessions, and reducing one of the biggest clubs in the world into a reactive side desperately defending its own box. And the more often this happens, the deeper the damage goes, because defeats to City are not just losses, they become reference points, moments that reset expectations and slowly shift standards. And Manchester United are not alone. Liverpool, who once matched City blow for blow during one, still found themselves finishing second repeatedly, chasing perfection while City simply existed at that level as the baseline. And when Liverpool finally slipped even slightly, City did not slow down. They accelerated, exposing how unforgiving this era truly is. And breaking teams is not always about humiliating scorelines. Sometimes it's about forcing impossible standards where anything less than perfection feels like failure. Because not every institution can sustain that pressure year after year. Arsenal experienced this painfully when they rebuilt with youth, energy, and belief, climbing to the top of the table, dreaming of a return to dominance, only to face City when it mattered most. And those matches did not just decide titles, they stripped illusions away. City showed Arsenal the difference between momentum and mastery, between promise and inevitability, between hope and habit. And when Arsenal lost control in those games, it was not because they lacked talent, it was because City exposed their inexperience, their emotional fragility, and their tactical naivete. And after those defeats, the ripple effects were visible. Performances dipped, confidence wavered, and suddenly a season that felt magical became a lesson in how far there was still to go. And this pattern repeats across leagues and competitions, because City do not just beat teams, they make them question themselves. They force managers to abandon philosophies, players to doubt instincts, and fans to recalibrate expectations. And nowhere is this more brutal than in the Champions League, where City have turned Europe into a laboratory of dominance, dismantling giants who once ruled the continent. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Paris Saint-Germain, clubs built on ego, star power, and continental pedigree have all felt the City treatment, where matches are not defined by chaos or drama, but by a slow tactical strangulation, where possession is controlled, spaces are eliminated, and opponents are reduced to chasing a ball they rarely touch. And when the final whistle blows, it doesn't feel like a shock, it feels inevitable. And this inevitability is the most destructive weapon City possesses, because it drains hope before matches even begin. And when big clubs lose hope, they lose identity. And when identity goes, everything else follows. Managers are questioned, systems are scrapped, rebuilds are triggered, not because the club is broken, but because City made them look broken. And this is how one dominant force can destabilize an entire foot. And Pep Guardiola has engineered a machine that adapts, evolves, and improves even when it is already ahead. Because City do not stand still. They absorb challenges, they learn from losses, and they return stronger. And this constant evolution is why clubs cannot catch up, because by the time they think they have solved City, the problem has already changed. New discipline that turns football into a chess match played at sprinting speed. And while other clubs rely on moments, City rely on mechanisms, patterns rehearsed to perfection, where goals feel less like inspiration and more like inevitability. And this systematic superiority is crushing for big clubs because it exposes inefficiencies that were once hidden by individual brilliance. And suddenly, spending power, reputation, and history are not enough anymore because City have combined elite recruitment, analytics, coaching, stability, and tactical clarity into a single unstoppable force. And the result is a hierarchy where traditional giants are no longer guaranteed relevance. They have to earn it every week, and many are failing. And as City continue to dominate, they force the football world into uncomfortable conversations about sustainability, balance, and fairness. But from a purely competitive standpoint, what they are doing is unprecedented. They are setting standards so high that even excellence is not enough. And this is why clubs fall apart after facing City, because they are not losing to chaos, they are losing to clarity. And clarity leaves no excuses. And when excuses disappear, accountability follows. Boards panic, managers are sacked, squads are overhauled, and cycles restart, all because City showed what the top truly looks like. And the scariest part is that this destruction does not appear to be slowing down, because City are not dependent on one star, one system, or one season. They are built to endure, to adapt, to dominate across eras. And that is why big clubs keep falling, not all at once, but one by one, quietly, systematically, and relentlessly, until the football world wakes up and realizes that Manchester City are not just winning trophies, they are reshaping the competitive landscape, redefining elite performance, and leaving even the biggest names in the sport scrambling to survive in an era they didn't create and cannot control. And as long as this machine keeps running, more giants will fall, more rebuilds will fail, and more legacies will be questioned. Because in this era, facing Manchester City is not just a match, it's a reckoning, and very few clubs are coming out of it unchanged.